ProCognita, Get Agile podcast. Kaizen, making employee life easier. Interview with Kiro Harada. Welcome to Get Agile podcast. I'm Tomasz Wykowski from ProCognita, and today with me is Kiro Harada from Kobe in Japan. And we get a conversation last year in Vienna about Toyota and how they implemented the supply chain with Kanban. And I really wanted to go back to this conversation, so I asked Kiro to join me today. Mm-hmm. So hi Kiro.
Hi. Nice to see you online.
Online this time.
It's been packed in a room for a long time, so we so loved meeting each other on the conferences.
Oh yes. So let me get to the first question. Looking at the Toyota system where we finished our conversation last time, what is the most important part you think from your perspective?
So TPS, or sometimes referred as lean production system, and the other thing, they feel that they are more about making the process more efficient, effective, and improve productivity. But it's only a smaller, I don't call it small, but it's not the primary portion of their ideas. So their ideas are more about for the people working there. So the key part is how we can make the work of everybody, easier and safer, so that they can do fluence to the level where he or she can contribute. So that's the point.
So we get to the idea of the Kaizen, or moving the decision making and the process improvement into the hands of the employees, right?
Yeah. So recently, I've heard a lot of things about the retrospective in Scrum or other continuous inspecting, adapting, make the process better, and then to make the quality of the product better. But when I see all the many teams who implemented Scrum or other Agile methods, they're working very hard to make the process better, make the product better. At the cost of actually the working environment, working situation for the actual developer are not getting better. So they're actually sacrificing the quality of the working environment or each team to better quality product, which is not really sounds right. I hope you agree with that.
So what you're saying is making life harder but making a better product, is what you say, instead of making life easier?
Yeah, so originally the idea of Kaizen, idea of the way of changing the work, the primary focus is making it easier and safer for the worker. So first with Toyota, at the time, the Sakichi Toyoda was the founder of the Toyota Looming Company. So he wanted to help his mother and grandmother, who are actually creating cotton fabric with manual loom. So he started creating some tricks, mechanics, to make the actual worker easier. As a result, even with the manual small changes to the looming machine, so they can produce 50% more of the fabric at the same amount of work. So actually the productivity improvement is a side effect. The primary focus is in making the work easier, safer. So that's the point. I'm kind of my observation from visit to Toyota in Japan, and also visit to Toyota in Poland, is that in Japan you have a very let's call it high speed of work. So that for me that would be exhausting. So what you're saying, making life easier for people at the production line. And my perspective was there was super fast piece of those people working. So how does it correlate to what you're saying? Actually, so they're working very fast. That's true. So they're kind of well trained again and again. So the way they standardize the work, so we usually set up the standards at the bottom accepted line of the quality so that everybody can follow. The ways are a little bit different. They set the standard, the best people working that way, so that they can all other workers try to be at the same level. So as a result of doing small changing, small try and errors happening, and then at the actual processing is much faster. The interesting thing is that you've probably heard that underline. You can pull the call stop. So there's not much written rule around them. So if you are a supervisor or maybe a leader of the following process, and then you find someone pull the undercode, what should you do? So the first thing is if you find someone pull the code, okay, you have come to the location. You have to go and see. But actually, what you are asked to do is you have to thank whoever pulled the code, whatever the reason is. Even though she pulls the code by mistake, you have to say thank you. So that's the rule. So then it's start the actually inspecting start, and then we discussing how to make it better. So in many cases, if you pull the code, okay, there's a lot of software company are using continuous integration, continuous delivery, and you have a flashing stopping light, and then everybody comes and then with a kind of angry face, what happened? No.
Why
you have
did
to
you
come
broke
to
it?
first. Who broke it? What happened? No, you have to come and say thank you.
Nice.
It's a good
That's
chance
cool.
to improve.
And that's cool. One of the things that took me like 2 years to discover is that the underline is not not about just improving the quality, but it's about empowering line workers to say, okay, I wanted this to be fixed, I wanted this to be understood better, so they can, at the time they can stop the line, which basically costs a huge amount of money, but they still can do this one, right?
Yeah, so since the quality improves, so actually the chance of pulling the code becomes less and less. So the recent finding a few years ago when I visited the factory there, so they actually added a buffer between some processes. So actually pulling the code will not stop the whole system, just only stop the section. And then if you cannot finish fixing the problem with the buffer time, the whole line stops. So what I see is that even though they are not really busy, but the line stops every few minutes. So they are actually pull the code if there's something that can be improved for process improvement. So that's a very good part of it.
So something we can call slack, like a time for improvement, right? Built into the process.
Yeah, actually, so they have a lot of pause actually. I think that they have at least 60 minutes, 90 minutes, they have a breaking time. So actually breaking time, they're actually not really there breaking. They are chit-chatting about the ideas too. So not working doesn't mean they are not working. So they're actually thinking about the better new ways of finding out a good way.
Yeah. Just because you're 8 hours, in the factory or in the office, doesn't mean that you're thinking about the problem for 8 hours, right?
No.
So one of the things I observe is like what we have with Lean is kind of similar to what we have with Agile. It's like a super simple way of copying just the techniques. We take something from Toyota and we try to copy it and it didn't work, and we say Lean doesn't work for us, and we had exactly the same for the Agile. So like we copy Kanban but we just try to implement this one. We get another waterfall with just the stages, and it doesn't improve much. So from your perspective, anything that you find the most difficult from when applying lean into the software development?
Uh, it's a very difficult part. Is first lean documentation was wrong. So since during that time, Japan and US were under trade war, and then US wanted to find a unfair trade business practice. So, but they could not send the government official, so they sent in MIT research group instead. So then Toyota actually showed the factories how they process the orders. But I'm pretty sure Toyota decided not to disclose the most important part, which is about designing. So then, after the research came back, the book came out. The title was "The Machine That Changed the World."
Okay, I guess.
So
I get it here.
Yeah.
So we can show.
Yeah,
it.
that's it. So that's a clearly saying that that the Toyota successfully has hidden the most core important part of the manufacturing. So the first lean interpretation in Kanban is all about the scheduling and adjustment, not about the designing of the manufacturing line or how to control the planning itself. So recently, Toyota product and process development came out. So they start understanding what's the core part of the thing, but it has been wrong interpreted. So in software, we do not manufacture software. So manufacturing in software is just a single click. So we have created a single click deployment, continuous integrate deployment. So we don't have mass. We don't have weight. So it's much easier for us. It's more about designing and experimenting. And then
you're talking about the designing the process of product development, not designing the product, or are you talking about both?
So yeah, I'm talking about both of the things, but the software itself is not the process. Software is help the user to generate the process. So it's basically a meta designing activity we software designers are doing. So it's a little bit more difficult thing. It's a little more different from the manufacturing. Manufacturing itself has a meta designing part as well. How we design the line, how we align, how we adjust the stock level, how we adjust the synchronization. But the lean implementation in the US or other locations, especially about execution, about manufacturing too much, not about designing part. So then some of the misinterpreted cases that the Kanban is for visualize everything. No. Visualization is all about hiding information. The purpose of Kanban in supply chain is to hide long-term plan. So manufacturing have a kind of tendency. We like to produce more at the same time. It saves cost. And then if the process continues that way, we ended up having a lot of unnecessary inventory. To prevent that, we decided not to disclose long-time plan. By using Kanban, we only show next few days, in extreme cases, next few hours, so that each process is ready. Whatever the variation of the Kanban comes, they can follow. That makes the whole process much lean and adaptive. That's the key part.
Yeah, and the challenge we have in software development is that basically we don't see those inventory, right? You don't pile them in the factory. You just have them on the disk, so you can create a lot of documentation that has no value for the customer until you implement it, but it's still not visible from the director or from the managerial level, right?
Yeah, but as we implement Scrum, we see a lot called product backlog. So how many items do you have in the product backlog?
Yeah,
so their inventory.
Yeah, this is one thing, but and there's often a situation when you get not done and on production at the end of the sprint, and then you basically have another inventory, or you have dependencies between the teams. So another thing that is like large companies has always, and again, that's the same problem, right?
Yeah, that's the same problem. But when I talk about the Scrum things first. So why don't you eliminate unnecessary product or backlog items first? So we are all working too much about how to improve velocity, how we can produce more. But a lot of reports says half of our new features clap. Sorry for that. But if you have more than 50% of the rate, the feature is not really valuable. Why don't you randomly throw away half the product backlog item? It eventually increases the value.
Because you have no idea which one is the important, right?
Right.
That's the problem for the product managers.
Yeah, so we really want to improve the rate of good product backlog item. So instead of focusing on how to make velocity higher, how to make more product backlog item into increment, we should use more time to investigate, can have a better prediction what product backlog item are very valuable, what kind of product backlog item usually looks like garbage.
So what is your preferred method for this one?
So yeah, still talking about the loom fabric machine. The key part is Toyota's automatic Type Z loom machine is if something goes wrong, it stops. And then it calls the staff to help and fix the problem. And then they start continue. But in many cases, I always make a bad joke about it. You programmers, you continue creating a new feature even though you have a defect on it. So you are so productive in manufacturing defects. So you keep you so busy fixing it. So we like to do less with a higher quality one. I always want to say that the Type Z loom, there are many Type Z looms still operative. Since something goes wrong, it stops. Yeah, it prevents from making bad quality fabric, as well as protecting the machine itself to break.
And the user from frustration, I guess.
Yeah, right. So it's your machine continues working if the wrong broken thread. You create a lot of bad fabric. You don't have a good time, go out for coffee. If that Type Z thing, as long as the machine is okay, you can always go out for coffee and 15 minutes come back. You're not really allowed to go to coffee if you're working in the Toyota factory, but it is not really that hard. You can actually use your attention for something else to finding out the further improvement area. Instead of the fear of the machine may broke, we have to watch out.
And I think that bugs is one thing. So implementing bugs and letting them stay in the code is one thing of not stopping the line. The second thing is like you do the feature and then you for the next 6 months instead of checking if anyone is using those features, you add more features. So you get a feedback loop of half a year, 1 year, because you're so busy implementing features that you don't have time to check if anyone cares about those, right? Kind of similar situation.
Yeah, so I'm writing patterns to be used in a Scrum team. So one of my friends, Alan O'Callaghan, gave a good name. It's a angel's chair or the whiskey. So the patterns goes like every 20 product backlog items the product owner put into the sprint, you have to at least put one product backlog item to remove a feature. Not to disable a feature. You have to remove the code completely from the code base. So that actually you can keep the product lean. And also to actually delete the code, you need to have a very good housekeeping. You need to have a good test. You need to have a good cohesion, encapsulation. Otherwise, you cannot delete code with confidence.
Yeah, I remember one of the best, the product review when the developer said that they removed like several thousand lines of code, and for me that was like a blow. That's great.
Yeah. So actually, the good programmer is good at deleting code. Not about creating many lines of code.
Adding lines of code is easy, right?
Yeah, it's the easiest way. Changing is hard, and deleting it hardest.
And also I believe that this is how you can recognize the strong product owners when they can make a decision about removing some features that seems to be nice to have, but it's like not most important from the customer perspective.
Yeah, actually, so by adding a feature, it's not really straightforward to understand how to use it. So you end up create more manuals. You end up create more tutorials, and you end up answering so many support calls. Why don't you just delete them, small amount of them? It's actually contribute to the user's experience as well, and also to the developer as well.
Nice. Okay, so I will get back to this Kaizen thing we started at the beginning. So, what would be your one recommendation for the software development teams from the Kaizen perspective? Maybe can be two.
It can be two. Yeah, give me one. I really, recommend the Scrum team or development team. Other than daily Scrum, takes 30 minutes to coffee, tea together. So stop working, no pressure, and then you discuss whatever you like. So then, okay, some stupid chit chat is fine too. Gradually, it become a very important occasion to discuss whatever they like to do. I'm not really a big fan of the current implementation of the Scrum Sprint retrospective. There are two focus about outcomes. So if you're looking for outcomes, the retrospective becomes just as same as other events as well. So that they try to do good at the retrospective, but I don't care if they're doing retrospective good or bad. I more care about the whole Scrum process getting better. To make that happen, I like to have a retrospective more unorganized. But sometimes the retrospective have formalized like this way. You have to put one sprint backlog item or changing actions in the next sprint. Okay, we have a different non-pressurized meetup, just like a coffee break. That's a thing I recommend. Give a try.
So less structure, but more often, like not the every sprint retrospection, but the everyday continuous improvement.
Yeah, so psychological safety is booming around. But I'd like to talk more about safety, physical safety as well. Did you sleep enough? Do you have a good attention to it? So we used to work very late at home, late at the office, and then bring back late at night. But we are not really sober. We are so tired. We are so vulnerable to traffic accident, whatever. It's not safe. So you have to finish work early enough.
And especially now when we move to the home office and people don't have those borders of 8 hours of 9 hours working. It's like you wake up, you go to the laptop, and it's dark, and you just go sleep, right?
Yeah. So 8 hours are way too long for thinking work. Yeah, probably 4 hours are good enough. And then we all agree actually is how much you work and then how much performance you get. You have a curve like this. At a certain level, if you work more, your performance goes down.
Yeah. So
But yeah, especially in a remote environment, if you do not see a desired performance level, people tend to work more. Just like some commercial of the sports good. Don't do that.
yeah. So basically, working over hours just give you more hours of work, not more product, right?
Yeah, so
Maybe
we
more
really,
bucks.
yeah, we really like to understand your performance curve over the hours of work. To have a structure, you need to have a experiment to do work less, as well as do more. But since we are still an animal, and then if we are in danger, we can shut down all safety features in the body. And then if we keep it working overtime again and again, your emergency alert feature would get shut down. You are so broken. So try to do less. And
Get
then this is
more.
the trick of the most of the professional athlete coaches are doing. Usually athletes to try to do more. Practice more, work harder. The one of the important thing a coach should do is that telling data to the athlete. Actually, practicing less, working less will result in better results.
So this is
So
something we start with is like making the developer life easier, not harder.
yeah, right. Yeah, but sometimes working late at night is fun. So just like running a hackathon every 2 or 3 months, that's fine too. It's fun.
But not that,
But
not daily.
not do that all the time. It's hard, but it's at the same time it's addictive.
All right. So I'm going to finish with one more question. So as ProCognita, we have an anniversary of 10 years by now. So we get a decade of being on the market. So my question would be for the last decade, how do you see the lean software development or the lean itself has changed, modified over the last decade?
So actually, last 10 years, we have at last started working our technology to make our life easier, like continuous integration, continuous testing, acceptance test-driven testing. Also, the test feature implemented in production as well. So DevOps is something like that. We started using our technology to make the operational system easier. So I think it has been a good progress. But it's not the work of the engineers has not become much easier yet, since the amount of software necessary to deliver in the real world is keep increasing. And then even with the current situation is coronavirus, demand is soaring right
Even
now,
higher, yeah.
even higher. So then we have need to practice more about how to do less to deliver better working effective software that make the user's life easier and safer.
and the developer's life easier and safer.
Yeah, developer is also a user.
All right. Thank you very much for this conversation. I really enjoyed this one, and hope to see you finally in person sooner than later.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's very nice remotely conversing over Zoom, but conversation over beer have different value than this. So I'm looking forward to that occasion soon enough.
All right. See you then.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. See you.
Thank you very much. To learn more, visit procognita.com/getagile.